All right, today I can use strategies based on place value to add decimals. Before we get into our book lesson, I want to show you this quick example. So if I were to add 5 and 13/100ths and 2 and 6/10ths, I'm going to use my decimal place value chart to kind of help show this example. The biggest thing you need to make sure you do when you add decimals is you need to make sure you're lining up your decimal place value. So if you notice, I have lined this up where my ones are with my ones. My tenths are with my tenths, my hundredths are with my hundredths, even though there's no hundredths right here. So I'm lining up my decimal place value, and to do that, line up your decimals. If your decimals are lined up, your problem is ready to go. So let's actually go through and solve this. So I'm going to start, just like in regular addition, I want us to always start on my far right. So I have 3 plus nothing here. Now in decimals, I can add as many zeros as I want to the end of a number because it's just saying I have 0 hundredths there and 0 thousandths there. It doesn't matter because of my decimal. So I'm going to add a decimal here, and now I can add 3 plus 0 and get 3. And then go to my next place. 1 plus 6 is 7. Bring my decimal straight down, and then 5 plus 2 is 7. So the answer to this problem is 7 and 73 hundredths. All right, now we're going to get into our lesson. Step it out. Willem buys a whistle and a yo-yo for his niece. What is the total cost of the gifts? If you look over here, our whistle costs $1.73. The yo-yo costs $2.45. So basically they're giving you this little guide. It's kind of like our decimal place value chart, where it's going to help you line up your decimals and add them. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger to make it a little easier to see. Okay. So if I'm going to add this, now let's start with our whistle. The whistle costs $1.73, and the yo-yo costs $2.45. Okay, so I need to make sure that I start on the right-hand side. So I'm going to start with my hundredths. 5 plus 3 is 8, and 7 plus 4 is 11. Now I can't put 11 right here in one spot, so just like in addition, you're going to bring your 1 down here and say, you know what, I have an extra 1 in my tens I want to bring over there. So 7 plus 4 is 11. Bring your 1, bring down your decimal point, and 1 plus 1 plus 2 is 4. So it's going to cost $4.18 for this whistle and yo-yo. And I'm going to let you just write that answer right down in here. And you can kind of cross this off. I don't really care about that right now for you. Okay, and you know what? Let's cross all this off too. So really just make sure when you're adding decimals, you line up your decimal and add it like normal. All right, let's do one more problem. Heather and her mom drive from her home to River Park and then to Central Zoo as shown. How far do they drive? So here's Heather's home. She goes to River Park, and then she goes to Central Zoo. We want to know how far do they drive all together. So I'm going to take this amount and add it to this amount to know how much they drove. So an equation to estimate how far they drive is going to be basically, I just want to make these friendly numbers, okay? So this is 10 and 58 hundredths. I'm going to make this into whole numbers. So if I look at my tenths place, it's a 5. It means I'm going to round this up to an 11. Plus, this one right here is 21 and 7/10. That 7 tells me I'm going to round this up to 22. In the end, that's 33. Okay, this is not my answer, but this shows me that they're going to go about 33 miles. Okay, so now let's use the chart to help us find how far they actually drive. So line up the place values of the two distances. So first we are going to put 10 and, whoop, that is a 10, and 58, oh dear, hundredths. Let's make this a little bigger so I can actually see it. Okay, and we're going to add to that, make sure I have my numbers right, 21 and 7/10. Okay, if you remember, when we're adding these, I don't have anything right here, but I can add zeros to the end of my decimals because it's after the decimal point. So I'm just going to add a 0, and now I'm ready to add. 8 plus 0 is 8. 7 plus 5 is, well, 5 and 5 is 10, plus 2 more is 12. Put my 2, carry my 1. 1 plus 1 is 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. make sure I got my decimal in there. So they went 31 and 28 hundredths of a mile. So come down here and say they went 31 and 28 hundredths of a mile. And is this reasonable? Yeah, because if you look up here, our guesstimate was 33 miles. And that's pretty darn close to 31 and 28 hundredths of a mile. So it is reasonable. Because it is close to my estimate.